Good morning, students. So today we are going to start our next topic, and our next topic is tools of recombinant DNA technology. Students, in our previous lectures, I have told you about the method of recombinant DNA technology in brief, and how the first recombinant DNA it is constructed by two scientists, Cohen and Bohr, that we have studied. And in today's lecture, we are going to study about tools which are used in recombinant DNA technology or genetic engineering. So there are some key tools of the recombinant DNA technology, and these are restriction enzymes. Student, restriction enzymes are of two types. These may be the restriction exonucleases and restriction endonucleases. So here we are talking about restriction endonucleases, which are also known as the molecular scissors, because these enzymes they cut the DNA segment from within by recognizing some specific sequences which are known as the palindromic sequences. How these enzymes work, that I will tell you later. Second key tool is polymerase enzyme. The student here, polymerase enzyme is actually the DNA polymerase. So you know very well, when the alien piece of DNA it gets binded with the plasmid DNA and a recombinant DNA is formed, and that get inserted into the host organism. Then it utilizes the DNA polymerase enzyme of the host for making its replicas. So here I am talking about DNA polymerase that is present in the host organism. And third one is a DNA ligase enzyme. So it is very important enzyme, because you know that the alien piece of DNA and the plasmid DNA, if both are cut by the same restriction endonuclease enzyme, then both have same length of base pairs, and these base pairs they also have overhanging bases which are actually the sticky ends. And so these sticky ends they are present in the alien piece of DNA as well as in the plasmid DNA. So whenever we want to bind our alien piece of DNA with the plasmid DNA, then this strong binding or the sealing of the ends takes place by the application of the enzyme, and that enzyme is known as the DNA ligase enzyme. Student, vectors are those agents by which our alien piece of DNA which contains our genes of interest, they finally transported into the host organism. So here two types of vectors are there which are very much used in a recombinant DNA technology, and these are the plasmid vectors and the bacteriophages. In your higher classes, you will study about variety of vectors. These may be cosmid, phasmids, and so on. But here I am talking about two types of vectors, that is plasmids, which are the extra chromosomal DNA present in the cytoplasm of a prokaryotic cell, and they have special type of antibiotic resistant genes over them, and because of this the bacteria they show antibiotic resistant properties. You have studied in class 11. And second is bacteriophages. These bacteriophages are actually those viruses which infect the bacteria by attaching themselves over the bacterial cell. They causes the lysis of the bacterial cell. And how they cause lysis, you know very well. They insert their own genome into the bacterial cell. So as they insert their own genome, so here we take the advantage. We remove the genetic material of these bacteriophages, and here we insert our gene of interest. So whenever they do infection in the bacterial cell and they incorporate their genome, so that is not actually their genome. That is our gene of interest, which finally enters into the host bacterial cell. So in this way, we can take the advantages of these vectors which are plasmids and bacteriophages for our own purpose. That is for transporting the alien piece of DNA, or you can say recombinant DNA. And last is a very important, that is the host organism, because we are doing all of these activities to create replicas of our alien piece of DNA or recombinant DNA that contains our gene of interest. And all of these things, they actually happen in the host organism. So last very important thing is the host organism. in which all of these key tools they are later used. Yes, student, here I want to discuss one historical account with you, and that is about the discovery of restriction enzymes. Student, in the year 1963, two types of restriction enzymes they were observed by the scientists, and these restriction enzymes they actually restrict the growth of a bacteriophage in E. coli cells, and they were isolated from these bacteriophages. And the scientists, when studied them, they observed that one restriction enzyme added methyl groups to the DNA, whereas the other enzyme it has a specific mode of action. It cuts the DNA segment not at their ends but from within by recognizing some specific base pairs or sequences. You can say recognition sequences known as palindromic sequences. So the first restriction enzyme that was in second, and it has its own mode of action. How this enzyme works, it always cut DNA molecules at a particular point by recognizing a specific sequence of how many base pairs? 6 base pairs. So this specific base sequence is actually the recognition sequence for this enzyme and second. Yes, student. After this discovery, scientists they have isolated 900 restriction enzymes from over 230 strains of bacteria. And all of these enzymes they have their own recognition sequences, their own recognition bases. The student, these restriction enzymes they are belong to a larger class of nucleases, and these are of two types. These may be exonucleases and endonucleases. So exonucleases are those enzymes which remove nucleotides from the ends of the DNA. That is, they do their cutting of the DNA at the terminal position at the ends. Whereas restriction endonucleases, they have a specific mode of action. They cut the DNA from the within at specific position within the DNA segment. And at that specific position, some specific kind of base sequences are present. And these are the recognition sequences, or you can say the palindromic sequences. Yes, student, how these restriction enzymes they actually work. So these restriction enzymes they inspect the length of the DNA sequence, and as soon as they find their own recognition sequences, it may be of 6 base pair, it may be of 4 or 5 base pair. When they recognize these base sequences, they cut the DNA. They cut the DNA sequence, or you can say segment of DNA from both the strand at the same position. So in this way, these restriction endonuclease, they recognize a specific palindromic nucleotide sequences over the two strands of the DNA. So they cut the DNA segment from that, and in this way, a piece of DNA is obtained which contains our gene of interest. Yes, student, here I am going to tell you what are palindromic sequences. So these palindromes in DNA is actually a sequence of base pair that reads same on the two strands of DNA when we take the orientation of reading as same. For example, if we read the DNA strand whose polarity is in the direction 5' to 3', and here some base sequences, recognition sequences are there, which are G, A, T, T, C. And we also read the second strand by keeping the reading frame as same as in the previous one. And we do the reading from 5' to 3' and again in the same way. Then we can also read it again, that is G, A, T, T, C. So in this way, the restriction enzyme, they cut the strand of the DNA a little away from the center of the palindromic sides, but between the same two bases on the opposite strands. So as a result, what happens? Single stranded portions, they leave at the ends. So these are single stranded portions which they leave at the ends. They are the overhanging stretches, which are later called as the sticky end on each strand. For example, we read this from this side, GAATTC. So it cut the DNA after recognizing these 6 base pairs. Then this G, it comes below this A in a hanging manner. So in this way, similarly here also the G attached with this A in a overhanging manner. So these sticky ends are produced, and later these ends they join with the help of hydrogen bonds, because the same restriction endonuclease enzyme we are also used for the cutting of the plasmid DNA as well. Yes, student, why these ends are known as the sticky ends? So these ends are known as the sticky ends because they can form hydrogen bond with their complementary cut parts that are present on the plasmid DNA as well. So these stickiness of the ends actually facilitates the action of the enzyme DNA ligase. You know that because sticky ends are produced, but these sticky ends, though they are joined with each other, that is the alien piece of DNA, it has its own sticky ends, and that joined with the sticky ends of the plasmid DNA, because cutting takes place by using the same endonuclease. But what happened, these sticky ends, they are not able to touch with each other successfully. Their strong attaching is done only with the enzyme DNA ligase. So later we add in the suspension the enzyme DNA ligase. So these enzymes, they are used in genetic engineering, and later on the recombinant DNA, it is formed with the help of these enzymes. So these DNA ligases, they also have a characteristic function. Yes, one diagram is visible to you. Here you can see we have selected one foreign DNA, which you can also call as the alien piece of DNA from the donor organism. And similarly, we have also selected one plasmid where we are supposed to insert this alien piece of DNA. Now what we do, by using the same restriction endonuclease enzyme, we cut the foreign DNA as well as the plasmid DNA. You know the mode of action of this enzyme, that these restriction endonucleases, they recognize specific base sequences that are present in the DNA segment. It may be 4 base sequences, 5 base sequences, or 6. And they cut the foreign DNA as well as the plasmid DNA at these specific base pairs. And later on, as the same palindromic sequences are recognized by these enzymes, so the space that is left in the plasmid vector is actually according to the length of the alien piece of DNA. Now here you see that the restriction endonuclease, they recognize the base pair, 2 base pairs, and the cutting is done. So a small segment of the alien piece of DNA is later insert into the plasmid DNA, and both of them have sticky ends. Then they joined with each other with the help of the enzyme DNA ligase, and these sticky ends, they joined with each other by hydrogen bonding. You know very well. Now what happened? A recombinant DNA is formed, which is circular, autonomous in nature. And when we do the transformation of this recombinant DNA, that means when we insert this recombinant DNA into the host organism, then when the host organism, it reproduce and form the daughter generations, then these recombinant DNA, it finally replicates and they also enters into the daughter DNA. So here one thing I want to tell you, that we should select such plasmid which is able to give more copy numbers, because if the plasmid gives more copy numbers, so that many copies of our recombinant DNA we obtained in the daughter generation during the process of reproduction. Yes, student, here I am going to tell you about a very special technique that we generally used for separation and isolation of DNA fragments in genetic engineering, and that is the technique of agarose gel electrophoresis. So one diagram is visible to you. This is actually the agarose gel electrophoresis machine. So here you can see a container is there. In that container, we generally pour one agarose gel. This agarose gel is obtained from the seed beads. So when we pour this agarose gel over this container, then initially it is liquid in nature, and after room temperature, it later solidifies. On the left hand side of this container in which we pour the agarose gel, so many compartments, miniature compartments are there, and these are known as the bells actually. So with the help of a syringe or injection, We take our DNA suspension and we pour this DNA in these respective wells. So this DNA, they contains fragments of DNA, and we here have to separate these fragments according to their length, according to their density. So here what happened, this container, it has two electrodes, one present on the left hand side, which is the cathode, because here we pour the DNA fragments, and you know that the charge on the DNA is negative. This means this is the negative terminal, and we attach the negative terminal with the battery, and other terminal is supposed to be the positive terminal, and it is also attached with the battery. So when we supply electricity, what happens, these fragments of DNA, they keep on moving over the agarose gel. So what we observed, these fragments, which are the lighter one, having light weight, they easily move over the agarose gel and they reaches fast. And those are fragments of DNA which are comparatively bulky in nature, they are supposed to move slowly over this agarose gel, because this agarose gel, it shows its sieving effect. So the movement of these fragments, they are not visible to us. For watching the movement of these fragments, we add a compound which is actually a dye, and that is ethidium bromide, to this agarose gel. And when we fall the ultraviolet radiations over it, then this agarose bed, it accept a fluorescent orange color, and the fragments of DNA, it accept this color fluorescent orange, and their movement is now visible to us. So in this way we see that the lighter fragment, they reach the positive terminal first and followed by the bulky fragments. So in this way we cut a particular piece of log from this agarose bed, and we arrange the segments according to their length, and these segments, they are later used to construct the recombinant DNA. So as we done this first for the alien piece of DNA, for the isolation of fragments in alien piece of DNA, and later we do the same for the plasmid DNA. And in this way we can easily isolate the fragments of DNA for both the alien DNA as well as the plasmid DNA. A student, here I have written the whole method that is used in the agarose gel electrophoresis. So we must remember the compound which we add to see the movement of the fragments, that is ethidium bromide, and when we fall ultraviolet radiation, then only the movement of fragments is visible to us. And one thing you must write, that the agarose gel, it has sieving effect, and because of this sieving effect, the lighter fragments, they move faster, whereas the bulky fragments, they show movement quite slowly. Yes, student, here is the actual apparatus of the agarose gel electrophoresis. So it is a transparent container having wells over there. So this person, with the help of a syringe, it adds the DNA suspension over it, and in this way when he attached the terminals with the battery, so movement of these fragments takes place, and we can isolate the fragments by cutting the logs from the agarose gel. Yes, student, here I am going to tell you the various type of cloning vectors that we generally use for making clones in the technique of recombinant DNA. So first of all, we use the plasmids or the bacteriophages. So I have already told you so many times that these plasmids, they are actually the extra chromosomal autonomous DNA that are present in the cytoplasm of the bacterial cell or any prokaryotic cell. So they have the ability that on these plasmid vectors, many antibiotic resistant genes are present. And these antibiotic resistant genes, they can be isolated from these native plasmids, and later they can be inserted into some other bacteria which do not contain these antibiotic resistant genes. So in this way it is quite beneficial, these plasmids, for isolating this gene of interest also, and later for the transportation of our alien piece of DNA into the host organism also. And I have already discussed about bacteriophages, that how these bacteriophages, they do their action. They, whenever they are going to infect the bacteria, they always introduced their genome into the bacterial cell. So here what we do, we remove the pathogenic genome of this bacteriophage, and in place of their genome, we put our alien piece of DNA that contains our gene of interest. So the bacteriophage, they do the infection as usual, what he is doing earlier. So now here the pathogenic genes are not going to transfer in the bacterial cell, but instead of that, our gene of interest, it enters into the bacterial cell, and later it incorporates itself with the bacterial genome. It produces so many replicas with the help of DNA polymerase of the bacterial cell. And in this way, we obtain so many copies or replicas of our gene of interest. So here one note is written, if we link alien DNA with plasmid or bacteriophage, we obtain equal number of its copies as the number of plasmids or bacteriophages. So one thing we should take in our mind, that whenever we are going to select a bacteriophage or a plasmid as vector, so we must select that plasmid or bacteriophage who is able to give more and more copy numbers. Because when such type of plasmid or bacteriophage, it enter into the host organism, it produce many copy numbers. So that is our advantage. We are not supposed to do the process again and again. So if we select the suitable plasmid which can give so many copy numbers to us. Okay, student, here the picture of the different type of vectors are visible to you. Two of them I have explained, plasmid vectors and bacteriophages vectors that we generally used. And here the cosmids, they are also used as vectors, but we are not going to explain here about cosmids. We will study about it in your higher classes. Okay, students. So you have to study your chapter up to this topic, and I'm quite helpful. I'm quite hopeful that the things are clearer to you. So after this, we will study what are the special type of features that should be present in a cloning vector, so that that particular cloning vector can work efficiently. So that's all in today's lecture, student. Have a nice day.